quiet corner of the world, far away from shining cities and towering skyscrapers, there existed a small village surrounded by endless fields of dry land. This was not a place people dreamed of reaching. This was a place people dreamed of escaping. Every morning, before the sun could fully rise, a young boy would wake up to the sound of roosters and the smell of damp soil. His home was small, walls made of mud, a roof patched together with wood and tin. When the wind blew, the house whispered its weakness. When the rain came, it leaked reminders of reality. This boy was born into poverty, not the kind shown in statistics, but the kind that lives in empty plates, worn clothes, and silent prayers at night. His parents were farmers, honest, hard-working, and tired. They didn't own much land, but they gave everything they had to it. Their hands were rough, cracked, and permanently stained by soil. Each wrinkle on their faces told a story of sacrifice, of days spent under the burning sun, hoping the earth would be kind. But the earth was not always kind. Some seasons brought drought, others brought storms. Sometimes, after months of labor, a single night of rain would destroy everything. Crops failed, deaths grew, hope became thinner with each passing year. As a child, the boy learned early that life was not fair. He watched his parents count coins late at night, their voices low, their expressions heavy. He heard conversations they thought he was asleep for, about loans, about unpaid bills, about whether they would survive another season. He didn't cry, he listened, and he remembered. Every day after school, instead of playing, he worked in the fields. He carried water buckets heavier than his body. He plowed soil barefoot, his feet hardened by pain. The sun burned his skin, but he never complained, because in his heart something different was growing. A question: is this all life has to offer? Sometimes expensive cars would pass by the dusty road near the village, their windows closed, their engines smooth. Inside them sat people who would never know what hunger felt like. The boy would stop working and watch those cars disappear into the distance, leaving behind dust and dreams. People in the village laughed when he spoke about a future beyond farming. Know your place, they said. People like us don't become rich, they said. Dreams don't grow in this soil, they said. But at night, when the world went quiet, the boy would lie under the open sky and stare at the stars. Those stars didn't care about money or class. They shined equally for everyone. And in that silence, a promise was born. I may have been born poor, he whispered to himself, but I will not die poor. Years passed. The boy grew into a young man, but poverty grew with him. The responsibilities increased. His parents aged faster than they should have. Their backs bent lower, their strength faded. One evening, after another failed harvest, the young man watched his father sit quietly, staring at the ground. There were no words left, only exhaustion. That night, the young man made a decision that would change everything. He would leave, not because he didn't love his family, but because he loved them too much to accept this life forever. At dawn, with nothing but a small bag and unbreakable determination, he walked away from the village. No celebration, no farewell party, just a silent goodbye and a heavy heart. Each step away from home felt like betrayal. Each step forward felt like hope. The city greeted him with noise, chaos, and indifference. Tall buildings replaced open fields. Crowded streets replaced quiet roads. People walked fast, eyes forward, caring about nothing but themselves. Here, no one knew him, and no one cared. He worked wherever he could, construction sites, cleaning jobs, deliveries. He was paid little and treated worse. Some days he ate only once, some nights he slept hungry. But hunger no longer scared him. Failure did not surprise him. He had lived with both his entire life. What scared him was going back without changing anything. Rejection became routine. Employers ignored him. People looked down on him. He was just another poor man chasing impossible dreams. At night, alone in a tiny rented room with cracked walls, he asked himself questions no one else could answer. Why do some people have everything while others have nothing? Is wealth luck, or is it learned? Can mindset change destiny? Instead of giving up, he chose to learn. He studied late into the night, business videos, success stories, financial principles. He read books borrowed from libraries. He learned English word by word, sentence by sentence. While others slept, he prepared. While others complained, he planned. He failed again and again. Small business attempts collapsed. Money was lost. Trust was broken. People betrayed him. There were nights when he sat in darkness staring at the floor, asking himself if the village was right all along. But every time doubt crept in, a memory pushed it back. The image of his mother cooking with almost nothing, his father's tired eyes, the cracked soil. Failure hurt, but quitting would hurt more. So he stood up every single time. Slowly, almost invisibly, something began to change. Not his bank balance, not his status, but his mindset. He stopped chasing quick money. He started building skills. He stopped blaming circumstances. He started taking responsibility. He learned that success wasn't about one big move, but thousands of small, disciplined decisions. And without realizing it, the poor farmer's son was transforming into something far more powerful. A man who understood struggle, a man who respected effort, a man who refused to surrender. This was only the beginning, because the same hands that once held farming tools were preparing to build an empire.
Failure has a strange way of testing people. For some, it becomes a wall. For others, it becomes fuel. For him, it became both. After years of working endlessly, learning silently, and sacrificing everything, he finally believed he was close. His first real business idea had taken shape. It wasn't big, it wasn't glamorous, but it was his. He invested every dollar he had saved, money earned through sleepless nights and aching muscles. He trusted people who spoke confidently and promised fast growth. And then, almost overnight, everything collapsed. The business failed. Partners disappeared. Phone calls went unanswered. The money was gone. For the first time in years, he felt something worse than hunger. He felt empty. He sat alone in his dark room, the city noise muffled behind thin walls. His hands trembled as he stared at the floor. The same hands that once planted crops, that once carried bricks, now felt powerless. A single thought repeated in his mind. Maybe they were right. The village, the laughter, the warnings. He replayed every mistake, every decision, every moment of trust. His chest felt heavy. His breath slowed. Doubt wrapped around him like chains. That night, sleep didn't come. Instead, memories did. He remembered walking barefoot through muddy fields. He remembered his father's silence. He remembered his mother's tired smile. And suddenly, something inside him broke. Not his spirit, his fear. He realized something powerful. Failure had already been his companion since birth. Poverty was failure. Hunger was failure. Watching dreams die season after season was failure. And yet,
he was still standing. So why should this be the end? The next morning, he woke up before sunrise, not because he had to work, but because he chose to. He opened his notebook again. This time, he didn't write dreams, he wrote lessons. He analyzed every mistake with brutal honesty. No excuses, no blaming others, only truth. He understood that hard work alone was not enough. Direction mattered, knowledge mattered, people mattered. He began networking, not to impress, but to learn. He attended small events, listened more than he spoke, asked questions without ego. He found mentors, people who had failed more times than he had even tried. They taught him what no book could, that success is not linear, that patience is a weapon, that discipline beats motivation every time. Months passed, then years. While the world saw nothing, inside him, everything was changing. He started again, slowly, carefully, smaller risks, smarter moves, long-term vision. This time, when profits came, they didn't disappear, they grew. Not explosively, but consistently. For the first time, stability entered his life, and with stability came confidence. He upgraded his environment, a better workspace, a stronger network, a sharper routine. He no longer chased opportunities, he built them. Soon, people began to notice, not because he was loud, but because he was reliable. When others panicked, he planned. When others rushed, he waited. When others quit, he adapted. Then came the breakthrough. An idea, simple, scalable, and powerful, met the right timing and the right people. Investors listened, deals were signed, growth accelerated. But this time, he didn't lose himself. He remembered every night of doubt, every empty meal, every failure, and those memories kept him grounded. He was no longer running from poverty. He was running towards purpose. Success changes many people, but for him, it revealed who he truly was. As his businesses expanded across cities and countries, his name began appearing in places he never imagined. News articles, interviews, conference stages. They called him an overnight success. He smiled at that because he knew the truth. There was nothing overnight about it. Years of invisibility had prepared him for this moment. Now dressed in tailored suits, walking through glass offices with skyline views, he carried himself with calm authority. Not arrogance, not insecurity, confidence built on survival. He flew across the world, meeting leaders, investors, innovators. Private jets replaced buses, luxury hotels replaced small rooms. But inside him lived the same boy who once stared at stars and made a promise. As wealth grew, so did responsibility. He focused not just on profit, but on impact. He built companies that created jobs, systems that empowered people, opportunities for those who reminded him of his younger self. When his net worth crossed the billion-dollar mark, celebrations surrounded him. Applause filled rooms, cameras flashed. But the moment that mattered most came quietly. He returned to his village. The same dusty road, the same fields, but everything felt different. Villagers stood in disbelief as luxury cars arrived. They recognized his face, but not his presence. He wasn't there to prove anything. He was there to give back. He embraced his parents, tears flowing freely. Years of sacrifice finally seen, finally honored. He invested in schools, farming technology, clean water, and education. He didn't give charity, he created opportunity. The land that once symbolized suffering now represented growth. Green fields replaced cracked soil. Children replaced silence with laughter. Standing there, Watching the sun set over the fields, he felt peace, not because he was rich, but because he had kept his promise, the promise made under the stars. The world now called him a billionaire, a tycoon, a legend, but he knew who he truly was, a farmer's son who refused to surrender, a man who learned that wealth is built first in the mind, then in reality. And as he looked towards the future, one truth echoed louder than anything else.